Like, when you think about shows, most of the time there's a character that figures it out, and you're able to, like, relate to that character. Be like, oh, okay, yeah, now it makes sense because I'm seeing it through your eyes. Whereas this show ends with, like, who knows what the freak's going on, because the lines get blurred between she's on set sometimes acting. Is she asleep dreaming about this? Is this stuff actually happening? Like...
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Life is Daijoubu, episode 67. My name is Cole. I am your host, and I have with me the man who just finished a shift at Jimmy John's. I forget the sandwich places.
Oh, I go to Jersey Mike's.
Jersey Mike's, gosh dang it. He just finished his shift at Jersey Mike's. He ate up the whole store. He got the coupon deal where you get one ultra sandwich and you get another ultra sandwich for free.
with that really frothy root beer.
The
that
frothy
I actually kinda
root beer.
like.
I just used the 2 regular and never mind.
But you did get a coupon of Sandwich Man.
Yes, I did.
So we got Jersey in his mouth. We got freaking a guy over here who's been rocking this sweater for the past 60 years. Who knew that?
That plaid would never go out.
Yeah, we got a Benjamin Button situation going on where, like, that's why you look good right now.
So is my
you're going
hairline
down.
going to grow back? Like, am I at that age? where it's gonna grow
Unfortunately,
back?
no. That you're like, I mean, you'd like to believe that, but
So
it
wait.
went the other way around for you.
But wait, I
still.
started bald, and it should grow back, right? Because I'm Benjamin Button.
No, we're going back to when you were in high school.
I had hair in high school.
Wink. I don't know. It's a bad joke. I apologize for my terrible jokes, but enough about terrible jokes. Let's talk about weeb stuff. Well, I take that back. Before we talk about weeb stuff, we have to mention that this episode 67 is actually being pre-recorded before episode 66 because I will be gone for the next couple of weeks on a vacation. And I won't be back until we do the seasonal review.
He'll tell you where
episode.
it is when we get back.
Cole's literally he can't be more weeb than what he's weebing.
I can't be more weeb
Yeah, you can't weeb more than he weebed in the next week.
in the next week.
Yeah, he's going to France, the true weeb land.
The true weeb land. Yeah, so we are pre-recording this episode. That's why there's not going to be any news talk in this show, just because the news will be severely outdated, and also there's not much because we're literally recording this a couple days after the last episode we just got done recording. So, without further ado, let's get into the show. But I guess one more thing is the next episode after this will be the seasonal review. So look forward to that. The fall. This is crazy how we still call this fall. The fall 2024 season review will be coming up
In December.
in December. And of course, after that, we have the whole entire year. It'll be our 3rd year recap. Isn't that crazy? The first one we did was kind of
like a
like
halfer.
half. Yeah, I mean, like we had watched some shows prior, but like it was definitely a halfer. But the second full-on talk about anime review show.
You know what we should do? What would be fun is to calculate how much anime we have watched.
Ooh.
Like, it's insane because not only are we watching I'm going to say 5 to 10 shows weekly.
Yeah.
We also have within each season 3, sometimes 4 shows that we've picked.
Yeah.
So that's 12 plus episodes.
We're watching a lot of anime.
So just in a week, let's just say we're watching 10 weeklies. So there's your 10 weeklies plus, or I guess it'd be every 2 weeks. Well, let's go every 2
You're
weeks.
watching
'cause
like
that's when we film.
20 episodes a week on average. Because a show is 12 episodes, then we watch maybe 8-ish episodes.
See,
so
I
20.
do it differently. I think I'm bi-weekly about that because I'll do my 10 episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
it's actually
so
more.
it'd be 30 episodes bi-weekly. Every
Yes.
2 weeks you watch 30 episodes of anime.
Yes. Roughly. I think it's a little bit more because most episodes or most shows we pick are between 12 and, well, it's probably 12, 11 to
That's
12
on
episodes.
average, I'd say 12 episodes.
So
probably.
32. Let's be exact here because we're just goblins.
We're goblins.
We're anime goblins. How much time is that? I'm going to do
Just
the
do
minutes.
20 minutes. Yeah, 20 minutes.
So 32 episodes
times 20 minutes.
times 20 minutes.
640
We're 640 minutes divided
divided
by
by
24.
60. Oh,
Oh, I guess it would be 60. I did 24 hours. What was it? 320?
324. No. 640. 640 divided by
60 minutes.
60 minutes.
That's 10.6 hours bi-weekly of anime.
That's okay. That's not as bad as I was thinking.
That's
Like
not,
in hindsight, that doesn't seem like that crazy at all. Like when a video game launches that I really like, I put like double that in a weekend. Like, let's be real. Like I think when Pokemon Scarlet and Violet came out, I think I had 30 hours in it by the end of the weekend.
So yeah, this is 10 and a half hours bi-weekly.
Yeah,
That's really not bad.
it's not that bad.
What I really like about anime is...
Oh, yeah, by week makes it even better sounding.
Yeah. What I really like about anime, not that I don't dislike longer shows, because I definitely watch them, but I can sit down and just binge it, and it's like, wow, I watched 4 episodes, but it's only been an hour and some change, hour and a half. Whereas you're like, oh, I'm going to sit down and watch The Witcher, and you watch 4 episodes, and 3 hours has gone by.
Yeah, I definitely like shorter episode shows is the best way to put it.
But sometimes you'll get a show and it super bangs. Like, you're like, oh, dude, this is so good. Like, The Witcher, for me, I was super addicted to season 1 and 2. Game of Thrones, I've only seen episode 1 through maybe 3 or 4. Can't remember where we stopped. But that went by really fast. That's super fun. So there's longer shows that I'll sit down and watch, but I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Breaking Bad's
It's
a
3
longer
a.m. Breaking Bad was another one.
Yeah.
You'd sit down and watch 3 episodes, and it's 4 a.m., and you're like, oh no.
Yeah, very true.
What am I doing?
So today we are going to talk about a show, though. We all watched together the anime movie Perfect Blue. And so at some point, probably roughly the halfway-ish mark of the episode, we will be talking about that show. And we will be going into spoilers on specifically that show and nothing else. I mean, I'm going to mention things, but I'm not going to mention any spoilers from other things. But we will be talking about a slightly bit of everything, but only spoilers for Perfect Blue. So look forward to our thoughts and our opinions on that show coming up soon. Before we do that, though, let's just instead of talking about weeklies, we decided we're going to talk about a manga that we've been reading maybe over the past year, past month or so, whatever it may be, and we're just going to like really dig deep into this specific manga we talk about, rather than just being like, yeah, I recommend this because this and this. Let's like, why do you like this show? Would you like to start, Skylar?
But manga, right?
Yes, or excuse me, why do you like this manga? Yeah.
So I want to give 2. And I'm the first one I'm gonna do very quickly because I think it's one of the best messages I've ever read in a manga. But I want to do it without spoiling anything. I will say the message for it, because the last chapter's like super like punches you right in the face with it. But anyway, that one is called Alice in Borderland. It kind of starts out as like a death game. Like essentially the overarching thing is these kids kind of hate life. And they're like, yeah, I wonder what life would be like in an apocalypse. Bam, they wake up in this alternate universe thing where every single day you have like a limited amount of days. So let's say that the first day you have 3 days left to live. The only way to get more time is by participating in these death games, and you have to beat the game to get a few more days. So they do that by drawing like these face cards will pop up. So if you get like a 6 of spades and you win it, that means you get 6 more days of life.
Just
you freaking gooning over here.
It's kind of what I was giggling about. He used his belly as a phone cleaner.
Yeah. Sorry,
And I watched the whole thing. Sorry, Skylar.
Anyway, so you've got that whole thing, and that is constantly thrown in your face. Whereas the underlying theme that I didn't really think about is it's like, what is the meaning of life, or what's your reason to live? And at the very end of the show, that gets thrown, or the manga, that gets thrown in your face, and you're just like, oh, I was so focused on the death game and trying to figure out who, what, why, when, and where, but I wasn't even focusing on the message of what the author was trying to get across, which I feel like was his or her intentions. I haven't looked into the author. It's really good.
The same author as Zom 100. It's a guy.
Okay. Super freaking good. So if you guys want to read a manga that is like super bloody, has some sexual stuff too, but also has one of the best messages ever, and like the entire last chapter is dedicated to that message, and you're just like, dang, dude. It made me take a step back and think, wow, I just started pondering life a little bit. One of those. Really freaking good, though.
It's kind of like a Zone 100 where it's like in a world filled with death, live life. I said deaf. Sorry, deaf.
It's very similar, and it
Yeah.
makes sense now that you mentioned that
Yeah.
because both of them have obviously they're different but similar themes.
Similar meanings and stuff.
Yeah, and I wonder if the author just really likes that message. So, maybe I'll just talk about that one. We'll see how much time we have. You guys go ahead next. I got
Okay.
another one, but maybe.
So the one that I wanted to talk about is called Beat and Motion. I brought this one up on the podcast a couple of times, especially during like the seasonal recaps. I say like, oh, we're in a really good arc or it's peak right now. But I don't know if I've ever really gave like the full premise of what's going on in this story to really sell it. And this is definitely like, I don't know how many of you guys listening are enjoyers of music and stories about music, but this is honestly to sell it to Skylar because he's the one that's gonna like it that I know the most. I mean, Dane will like it just because he likes
I'm
good
reading
stories.
it right
Oh, you
now.
are currently
Yeah.
reading. Give me some. Are you like caught up with it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's go. All right, let's sell to Skylar. So, Beat in Motion. It's this guy. I feel bad. I don't remember their names.
Yeah, I have a hard time remembering anime names too.
Anyway, you have this guy who is becoming an animator. That wasn't his initial like dream in life. I mean, in a sense, it was. When he was a little kid, he always wanted to draw. He wanted to be an artist. And then when he got into high school, he got some friends, and they put together a band, and they were doing that, and they kind of were going somewhere. Like, they had some gigs and stuff, and they just broke up eventually and said, let's go to college, do our thing. And he decides he's going to go back to be an animator. Maybe, I think that's probably what it was, is he decided, I'm going to be an animator. This is why I'm leaving the band. And there was a lot of people, like a handful of people that were sad about the band.
One guy.
Specifically one guy? I
Yeah.
thought it was a handful of people that were
A
sad.
handful, but mainly focused on the one guy.
Sad
later.
about the band
Yeah.
being broken up because they don't get any more music and all that. Anyway, that's a whole different story. But he goes on, he does animation stuff, and he learns about animation. And throughout this entire process, he listens to this song that he found of this girl singing, and
I think her name's Nico.
Nico. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. Thank you. He listens to Nico's song, and he's just like, dang, this song is great. Like, it inspires me. One of these days, I'm gonna animate the music video for this song. And at some point when he's in college, he messages Nico, says like, hey, I wanna animate one of your songs. And they meet up. It's this girl named Nico, and they're like, yeah, I'm just trying to live my life doing songs. See, she's not like a big musician. She's kind of like up and coming. And her whole story is really cool too. Like, her mom was a huge pop idol that was very, very well known. Maybe not pop. It's more like alternative pop, I guess. Very, very well known. J-pop. A very well known artist. And she's trying to like become a musician, not in the shadow of her mom. So she's trying to separate her image from that. Anyway, she meets the guy, and they make the animation for the song, and like, it's a really cute story about just like living out your dreams and trying your hardest to succeed, even though you may not succeed sometimes. And like, of course, it's a cute romance too. Like, I can't not point that out. It's really cute.
I also like in this story how like it just doesn't focus on the male in the mind. Like, that's usually what romance does. Usually focus on the dude most of the time rather than the chick, or vice versa, who's ever taken the main character position. But there's parts where it's focused on each of them just separately doing their own thing.
Yep. It's very much so a deuteragonist. We have two protagonists, really. Like, you might make the argument that the guy is the main character because that's kind of how it starts. But, like, as it progresses, Nico definitely is involved just as much as the guy is. And even more so. Like, there's, like, spans of chapters where it's just Nico. And I remember, like, reading the comments and people going, where's our main character? I'm like, get the freak out of here, dude. You guys are stupid. Like, this is great. This is peak. We don't need freaking boy to good story. So, Beat and Motion, phenomenal one. You can read it on Jump Plus if that's your thing. It's even on the Shonen Jump app too as well if you want to read it there. But
That's
I'm
where I
gonna
read
show
it
you.
first.
I've had it in this read later list for at least 2 years. I think that's how it's been out for a while.
Maybe not 2 years, but at least a year, at the very
Probably a
least.
year.
I think I started reading it about a year ago.
Because I remember seeing this on, I believe it was this. I believe it was on Manga Plus,
Yeah.
and it had popped up, and it's like, you've read these, you'll probably like this. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it looks like it's something I'd like, and just saved it to my read later.
It's I started reading probably about a year ago. I think they're at roughly like chapter 20 to 30, and I think they're up to like 60 now. if that sounds right. So maybe it is close to 2 years.
Let me see what it's at.
It might be more, might be less. I don't actually know off the top of my head. I think it's a bi-weekly manga, so it comes out every other week. They take breaks sometimes too, though. But yeah, it's a fun story. It's pretty inspiring. The characters are fun. They got good chemistry. It's good stuff.
Wait, is it a bi-weekly or monthly?
It might be monthly.
Because there's only 43 chapters.
Okay, it might be
I
monthly.
think it's irregularly.
But so
maybe.
it's the latest chapter was the 15th. The first chapter
It says
was
bi-weekly right there.
the first chapter was February 24th.
It's not
of
super
last year.
consistent release-wise.
Yeah.
I won't deny that. It's kind of sporadic. It's sometimes it's bi-weekly. Sometimes it might feel like it's monthly. I just read it when I see it pop up. That's really the best way to put it.
It looks bi-weekly, but this I didn't realize how short it was. I assumed this.
The chapters are long. The
like
chapters are
40.
probably like 40 plus pages. And I also want to mention that, like, I'm fairly certain that this is one of those manga that will almost definitely be animated someday. And I'll be the guy that also points out, like, this will probably be a better anime than manga just because it's heavily into animation and music, which are two things that you can't get in a manga. But that said, I think the manga's still a lot of fun. And if they never animate it, hey, at least we have the manga because it's still really, really fun, and I'm very much so enjoying it.
Oh yeah, this is the manga, but there's another music manga you guys might like since it's about high school bands. You might relate to that somewhat. It's called Girl Meets Rock, and they took it off the Jump Plus app for a while and had to go to another website to read it, but they brought it back recently. So
I'll
there
have
you
to
go.
check it out then.
Yeah,
Girl Meets Rock.
yeah. It's kind of a Bochi. It's kind of similar to Bochi the Rock, but more about high school Kesso bands, or not. If that's the band for high school bands, I don't remember what the Light Music Club.
I see.
Yeah. But the one I want to talk about, I like my darker manga. I like ones with where the stakes are usually ends up somebody dying, graphically usually. And I found it just reading new stuff from Jump Plus because I like to read read all the new stuff and try to get caught up on all the stuff. And one's called Centuria, and it starts with a boy who's a slave and he's on a slaver ship, and he befriends this lady who just gave birth to a baby girl, and
I did read this chapter. Yeah, I remember now.
and it gets pretty bad because one of the slavers starts killing slaves, I think, and then a Cthulhu-esque monster comes out from the ship, and I think it starts eating the people. I can't. It's been a while, but like the woman, the mother, she's like, "I'll give my life if you spare these two," and she does. And then the man, Jillian, his name is, he ends up getting supernatural powers, and he becomes has super strength, and he can like summon a monster from the ocean. And it's really cool. It's just very compelling story. It's like Berserk, but like with heavy Cthulhu themes. Like has that Viking aesthetic, Norse aesthetic. And as it keeps going, like there's like these other evil people that are like hunting after the baby because like there's a prophecy that she's gonna kill a bunch of people, and it gets it's very emotional at points, and I think you should just read it. I can't really describe it too well without spoiling it, but like I think it's just like a really good, compelling manga, and I hope it gets a lot of chapters and gets a really good anime adaptation.
That's interesting that you brought that up because I remember you talking about Centuria a couple times, but it never put into my head that this is that manga that I read. I read chapter 1 when it came out, but I never read anything else after. Not necessarily because I didn't want to. I just honestly forgot about it.
Yeah.
And I guess every time I saw the name Centuria, I never put that together with that chapter 1 that you described. Because when you were describing, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember exactly this chapter 1. So maybe I'll pick this one back up and keep going with it because I was
Yeah.
impressed with it when I read the chapter 1.
Yeah. it's
What was it
very
like a
good.
year ago that it came out?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Well, did you want to talk about that last one, Sky?
Sure. I'll just talk about my favorite part about this because it's Fire Punch. It's Tatsuki Fujimoto. Is it
Tatsuki.
Tatsuki?
Yeah, Tatsuki
I'm
Fujimoto.
pretty sure there's a U in there though.
Yeah, it's U is
but
silent.
it's just pronounced.
It's not silent. It's kind of like you just don't really
Just
Yeah.
quickly said
Tatsuki.
Tatsuki.
Yeah.
So I don't emphasize the U.
I guess,
You don't
you don't
emphasize the
emphasize. I
U.
guess you say it slower, but usually when you say it
Tatsuki.
faster, it's Tatsuki.
Tatsuki.
Anyway, this man was cooking. I don't know. I think it's not super old, is it?
It's before Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, it's 2016.
This is the manga he was writing where they had all of his assistants went on to do other things that like they spread out. Whoa, they
Like
spread
Tetsuya
out
Endo and
Made
the
Spy
Hell's
Family.
Paradise guy, I think.
the Hell's Paradise guy
Yeah.
and the Daniden guy.
Yeah.
That's really
No,
cool.
Spy Family guy was in the anime long before Fujimoto. He had a few.
Did he work with Fujimoto though?
I think Fujimoto might have been an assistant, but I can't remember.
I thought Spy Family guy was an assistant to Fujimoto.
I don't remember.
I guess I don't remember either, but it was at least 3 people
Yeah.
that were assistants for Fujimoto that made like crazy things. I know
Yeah.
Daniden and Hell's
But they
Paradise.
were
Yeah.
they were working on Fire Punch with him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Fire Punch. That's what they were working with him on.
So Fire Punch is super cool. Have you guys? I know that you read a little
read
bit
the
of it.
first
whole
volume.
thing.
You've read the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you'll totally understand this, but the beginning of the manga starts out with like in this world, it's kind of like an Arctic frozen overland. What's that called?
The Day After Tomorrow.
Yes, but
Yeah.
An
the
ice
Ice
age.
Age. Thank you. Gosh.
Yeah,
It's
squirrels.
a second ice age.
Yeah.
Sloths and mammoths.
But there's people in this world have powers. The main boy, he has the ability to regenerate really quickly. So in order to feed his village, they keep chopping off his arm so that they give him parts, or that he could give his body to these villagers so that they don't die, so they don't starve, because it's a very desolate, frozen wasteland. Anyway, some dude shows up. He's like, "Hey, there's people here. Wow. Oh, you guys are cannibals." And then he burns everybody because he has flame on powers. Well, essentially his flame on powers is they burn until whatever is burning is dead. But this kid that regenerates, he can never die because his regeneration ability is so prominent. So he just lives with this eternal flame on him. Anyway, that's not really the part I wanted to talk about. That's just kind of the overarching thing. But eventually, Flame Boy meets, his name's Agni. Eventually, he meets this crazy chick who she wants to make a movie. And I was able to put this together very quickly because you two have previously told me about Fujimoto and things that he likes. And essentially, after reading this, I'm like, bro, this is just Fujimoto standing for himself. It's like very meta on the story of this girl talking to Agni saying, hey, I want to make a movie. You're going to be my main protagonist. This is the villain that we're going to go after. She's setting all of this up. There's tons of movie references and all this different things, building this chick character. And in my head, the entire time, I'm thinking, this is so meta. This is just straight up Fujimoto put himself in this manga just so he can talk about what he wants to do while creating it. It was super cool. And I haven't finished it yet. I'm like probably close to halfway. But man, super fun. I love it when you know more about the author and then you read their works and you're like, dang, just beautiful.
I have a feeling Fujimoto wanted to make films, but he didn't know how to get in the industry. He said, well, I can draw, and I know shot composition. Yeah.
Yes, all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because, like, I mean, everything he's done has movie stuff in it.
Yeah.
It's very apparent.
And
They even do the thing where every one of his films, they go watch a movie in the
Yeah.
theater and they have the shot with them looking at the movie and
Yeah. I find it really dumb when Chainsaw Man anime came out, one of their arguments was like, it's too much like a movie, and it's like, do not know the guy who made it.
Well, even the intro for the OP for Chainsaw Man is just movie reference galore. The
it's
whole
like-
point of that is just like, how many references can we put in here?
Also, have you watched any other anime like Free Run? Well, this is before Free Run. Like, have you ever watched these Studio Ghibli movies? Any Shinkai movies? Satoshi Kon? They're movies. They're movies like animated. They have shot composition, like cinematography. Like you got like. It's okay if an anime looks like a movie. That I think that makes it look better.
Well, you know what's even more dumb, in my opinion, about that whole argument is the time we live in now. Like, the difference between movies and TV shows is just how they're presented. And what I mean by that is, like, a TV show, you can binge the 8 episodes, and they're hour-long episodes, and they still look like films. Like, they look like a legit movie. It's not like we got Full House versus the Goonies, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And same with TV shows and anime. Like, you've got your typical anime, but when something like Demon Slayer releases, you're like, dude, this looks freaking good, even though it's the TV show. Well, I shouldn't even put it in quotes. What I'm saying is I feel like the difference between TV shows versus like a cinematic film is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and especially in this day and age. Like, I don't know why people are even complaining about that.
I think the bridge was gapped when shows like Oz and Sopranos came out because HBO was like, oh, we're not on regular cable. People have to pay for this separately. We can do whatever we want. So then, shows like that started coming out. I think they try to make them more like movies.
They're the ones that started this change to make everybody just go hard when they make their stuff.
Yeah,
I'm totally game for it too.
Yeah, I agree. I like it. I'm happy that essentially it just makes our content quality a lot better, and it's exciting. I'm all for it. I'm all for making this stuff better. The only problem, and like this is a whole different conversation, but the only problem is that like then it leads into like overwork and things like that. And
Right.
yeah,
That's something we've definitely talked about a bunch.
yeah. Well, without further ado, then I guess unless you guys had anything else to bring up, let's talk about a movie. Let's talk about the movie we watched.
I mentioned the man.
I know, yeah, that was gonna be my segue.
Yeah.
And then I kind of just did a poor segue.
Yeah.
But here we are, back on it. Satoshi Kon's Perfect Blue. That's what we're going to be talking about today. The three of us watched it.
I have a feeling this man wanted to make movies, but he's like, well, I drew manga before. I might as well make them animated.
Yeah. So Satoshi Kon's an interesting individual. They made, I think it was 4 total movies, at least 1 manga, I think a couple manga. And early in the 2000s, they passed away. Pretty early, like some kind of disease that they had, and they ended up passing away, and we are left with their legacy of, like I said, like 4-ish movies, one anime TV anime.
Is it a boy or a girl?
It's a boy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Satoshi Kon. And a couple manga. I don't know too much about the manga. I've only read one of theirs. It's Opus. Satoshi Kon's Opus, which is a very interesting one. It's almost like a self-insert one, and the final couple chapters were never finished. Although they kind of were, just never like completely like inked in and everything done. And so they were able to release it all together, and the final couple chapters are just like very, very rough sketches of what was probably going to be. And then we actually watched one of the TV shows, or the only TV show, which was Paranoia Agent. We watched that on the show a couple months back. That was made by Satoshi Kon, and this is the first movie of his that we decided to watch, Perfect Blue. Now, personally, I've also seen Millennium Actress, and that show, along with Perfect Blue and Paranoia Agent, there's a pretty, even Opus, there's a pretty good running theme with this man's work, and it's that he uses the medium that he is creating for in tricky ways, and he's also just good at playing with the viewer's mind as well as his characters' minds. And that's a pretty common theme amongst all of these things. Even though they're all different genres and different like stories entirely, they still have similar aspects where, like I said, they mess with both the viewer's mind and the characters of the story's mind. And I guess we'll briefly do the Perfect Blue synopsis, and here we go. Spoilers from here on out. Perfect Blue is about a girl named Mima. I kept thinking Mimi, but yeah, Mima, and she's a young idol who is becoming a actress as essentially at the whim of her agency. They're having her change jobs more or less. She's not super on board with it, and as a result, she starts having a lot of regrets, and that transforms into hallucinations. It's like basically seeing herself in her past and like her past self continuing on with being an idol, and her living her life of becoming an actress. At one point during her being an actress, she does a scene starting with an R that really messes with her mind traumatically. Not necessarily in the moment, but it really kind of like makes her blur what's real and what's fake. And as we progress, it just keeps going worse and worse. And because it's a movie, Satoshi Kon's able to merge both the real life of Mima as well as Mima's acting, and make us start to think that the acting is real and so on. It culminates in finding out that Mima's manager, essentially longing for her previous years of being young and good-looking, attractive, and being an idol / potentially actress, is more or less two personality. What's that? Split personality.
They call it
dissociative disorder.
Yeah.
Their manager has that, and then she's starting to think that she is Mima as the idol, and that version of Mima, the manager Mima, it had been doing some horrendous crimes, murdering some people that were influential in Mima's actual professional career, and changing the Mima that she knew to become the one that is current. Luckily, in the end, Mima, the real Mima, is able to get past all of her trauma and be happy in the end. Also, there's a lot of scary blood and stuff.
Murder.
Lots of murder.
Eye gouging.
Hopefully that was an okay explanation of the synopsis of the plot. I tried to hit on the main details, but also in sequential order.
I think this is definitely a movie that you need to watch for yourself, because as much as we could go into detail describing the scenes, like it's a visual spectacle and also a mind F at the same freaking time of like trying to follow what's going on. It's a bit confusing and it all comes together at the end. But even then, the ending still, in my head, left up to interpretation of like, is she mentally unstable? And I think one of the things you hit on the head too is you mentioned earlier that Fujimoto messes with the audience as well as his own characters.
Satoshi Kon.
Excuse me, Satoshi Kon. Gosh,
You're fine.
Just J.O. on my favorite guy right now. Anyway, it's like when you think about shows, most of the time there's a character that figures it out, and you're able to like relate to that character. Be like, oh, okay, yeah, now it makes sense because I'm seeing it through your eyes. Whereas this show ends with like, who knows what the freak's going on, because the lines get blurred between she's on set sometimes acting. Is she asleep dreaming about this? Is this stuff actually happening? Like, complete mind F.
I like how you said that, though. Like, there's a character that figures it out, and we get to be that character that figures it out. We are actually Mima in the show. We are on the same page as her. We have no idea what's happening the entire time, just like she has no idea really what's happening. So I find that also very interesting, that she's still the insert for the audience, which is kind of fun.
Well, and I think the thing that really nailed it for me anyway, of like the confusion aspect of it, is like at times I was like, are we getting Mima's perspective? Are we getting Rumi's perspective? Is it just a dream? Like, what's going on? Because you're getting, like Cole already mentioned, her agent or manager or whatever she was. Her name's Rumi. Throughout the entire show, like, I don't really know whose perspective we were getting most of the time. Like, I think it was Mima's, but when we were bouncing back and forth between Mima and Rumi, though, like, you don't even know that twist until the very end of the show anyway, so.
I saw a fun theory about the show, about Rumi specifically, and it's that their theory was that Rumi had created her own exact replica of Mima's apartment. And so some of the scenes we would see in Rumi's version of Mima's apartment, others we would see in Mima's version. And this is why things like the posters and stuff were torn down in one apartment and not torn down in the other apartment. And so that's one theory.
So there was visual cues then.
Yeah. I don't know if I subscribe to that theory personally. But
I
I do
she
think
just put the posters back up.
I think at some point she just put it back up and forgot or something. But there's another visual trick that I wanted to demystify for the show, and it's that every not every time, but almost every time they would show Mima killing somebody as Rumi, because Rumi was the actual one killing the person, they would cut to Mima waking up to make the audience think that that Mima was having a dream about killing this person. That, however, was never the case. She never had a dream about killing these people. The Satoshi Kon just wanted the audience to make us believe that she was having those dreams to really sell the thing. When and like this is even more so with the time that Mima like smashed the cup in her hand, got blood everywhere, and then like the next scene it shows Rumi Mima killing somebody, and then it cuts back and Mima wakes up, and then she sees the bloody stuff in her closet. See, this is one that's up to interpretation. Is this Rumi seeing the clothes in her apartment, or is it Mima seeing the clothes that Rumi stashed into her apartment? And she was more or less having a dream when she was waking up, thinking about like her cutting herself and stuff like that. And she sees the clothes with the blood, and she thinks the blood is from her hands. And there's a whole bunch of mess and stuff. And of course, like you were saying earlier, to top it all off, the movie or the TV show that she's working on, movie or whatever it was, is almost paralleling her current life, where she's killing somebody and she's using the same weapon to kill the person in the movie. And so it's very much so mind effery. But I think the overall message of the story more or less is just the fact that, like, I mean, you change. Sometimes things change in life, and it's hard to get through them and get over them. And sometimes you got to find your way through it. This is how some people deal with change and some people don't. You know, like Rumi dealt with her change, becoming a manager rather than being the performer, very poorly, and her brain and psyche got messed up. And then Mima was trying to get through that change in her life, and she got messed up in the head, but eventually she was able to get through it. And so I think that's really just the moral of the story, is that like people change. Try to deal with change the best way you can.
Right. Another thing that I found interesting too, because you hear about stories where actors and actresses that do method acting get really into whatever character they're trying to portray, and they kind of blur the lines between fiction and reality. And what's nice about this, and I'm sure it's been done in other TV shows and movies and maybe other animes as well, but what's nice about this is, as an audience member, you can kind of see how something like that could happen. Because we kind of get both perspectives of like Mima while she's literally in the middle of acting, like the part in the R scene where she's literally in the middle of getting touched. They have to pause and move cameras around, and then her fellow actors like, "I'm really sorry," and then action, and they keep doing it. You know what I mean? And so like in the moment, she's trying to be professional and be an actress about it, and then afterwards she like starts thinking about it and is losing sleep, having nightmares, and you're kind of able to see as an audience member how something like blurring the lines between being an actor or actress and reality, because these especially really good actors and actresses get really into their character. Like one that always comes to mind is like Heath Ledger, R.I.P. He got really into the Joker role, and I think it kind of messed with him, along with drugs and other things he was doing. But there's other actors that get really into method acting, and it can be really, really weird. Like Jared Leto with his portrayal of the Joker, he got really weird with his actors and actresses on set. What's his name? Jim Carrey. He's done some really insane method acting stuff that you could look into.
Andy Kaufman.
Yeah,
he had a whole documentary on Netflix.
Right. So. But like I said, what's nice about this movie specifically is you can kind of see how somebody can slip down that rabbit hole and kind of blur the lines.
Totally.
And it's not just with her, though. We get different perspectives. We get Rumi's perspective, but then we also get the creepy dude that's her stalker that you think is the bad guy throughout the entirety of the show.
Yeah.
what do we call that?
Horseman.
It's a
Chekhov's gun.
No,
or
it's
no,
a
red herring.
Well, that, but I'm specifically talking about somebody that, well, I guess they just can't tell the difference between fiction and,
They blur the lines between reality.
He kind of has a parasocial relationship with her where it's like, I see her on stage and she's really cute and I love her, and then he starts writing this blog about her and as if he is her. But then it poses the question of like,
No. He never wrote the blog.
oh, he didn't?
That was Rumi. Rumi wrote the blog.
It just showed him.
Yes.
So here's
they
the next
wanted you to
question,
think
though.
it was him.
Was he real?
Oh, he was very real.
Okay.
He was talking to Rumi. Remember, he was saying he was getting emails and stuff from Mima. It was Rumi as Mima that he was getting the emails from.
Okay.
One like not final, but like one more thought I have before if you want to say something, Thane, is that in the R scene, where we see Mima break down for once, that's also the same exact scene that Rumi breaks down. She cries and leaves the room. She's like unconsolable, and the manager or the owner of the main guy of the
producer,
agency,
dude.
the producer guy, he's kind of just like, what the heck? Why is the manager freaking out this much about it? Like, I understand it's pretty uncomfortable, but really, and she's gone. She's like, she literally saw her idol, her number one, just destroyed like that, and that really got to her. And that's the other thing that's interesting is where we have the stalker guy. We thought he was Mima's number one fan. No, it was Rumi. Rumi was always Mima's number one fan, and we just didn't realize it until the very end.
She's going to get that number one victory royale, especially with she bashes that guy's head with a hammer.
It's very creative storytelling diversion.
I think the person that hit the dude in the hammer, the stalker guy, I think that was actually Mima.
Oh.
I think the producer guy got killed by the manager immediately after that.
Yeah.
But I think Mima's the one that actually hit the dude with the hammer.
Yeah.
That's just me. I don't know if that's true or not.
Well,
that's just what I think.
That's self-defense. She's fine with that.
The only reason I say that is because immediately after we have the scene with Rumi and Mima, and Mima
he only has one eye. He only
disheveled.
He only has one eye gone. She usually goes for both eyes.
The messed up guy?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, true. You're good point. Yeah. So that makes it maybe even think it's even more. It's
Well,
Mima.
and here's another thought, too, is he would be able to tell the difference between Mima and Rumi. Rumi's
and he's been
chubbier.
talking to Rumi recently.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that he would have, well, obviously, I think he'd be able to tell the difference because if he likes Mima as much as he does, seeing Rumi as Mima dressed up or whatever she does, whether she actually dresses up or not, maybe that's just the way she sees herself. Regardless, stalker dude, I think would be able to tell the difference.
Yeah. What kind of interesting thoughts do you have on this whole thing? Any other insights?
The stalker guy looks like a horse.
A horse?
Yeah.
I didn't think horse. We were calling him the gremlin or something, or
shark.
Schmeagle.
Hammerhead shark.
Hammerhead shark. Okay,
Yeah.
I heard that one while we were watching.
Looks
the
like
movie.
that horse boss from the Bloodborne Old Hunters DLC.
It's interesting that they portrayed him as a ugly person, of an incredibly like kind of messed up face. Like he probably got in some accident early on, so it'd make him really deformed looking. It's interesting that's how they portrayed him because Satoshi Kon knows how people are. They see something like that and it's already discomforting.
Yeah.
They're going to instantly assume, well, it's got to be him because he's the one that makes me not feel good, you know? And so it's very interesting to use the image of that guy to increase the distrust of him.
There's a part where it was kept looping in the middle of it, and it's like it feels like I'm playing PT.
Oh, yeah.
So
I've
maybe
never played PT.
Maybe Kojima was inspired. They also said Kojima was inspired by an internet video called "Tour of My House." That's a creepy one. If you want to go watch that, that's a classic. But I think this movie's like, it feels like this could have been filmed live action, but I feel like Satoshi Kon's like, no, animation can be for adults too. So maybe he tried to pitch it as a live action movie, but the studio was like, nah, we can't do that. It's like, well, if it's an animated movie, it's like, okay, I guess.
It's interesting that you mentioned that. I don't know too much about this because I've never seen this movie, but from what I understand, the movie Black Swan is very similar to this movie. Like, parallels so many different things to the point where they even like redo that bathtub scene. But from what I understand, that like plot of Black Swan is supposed to be pretty dang close to Perfect Blue.
Well, the difference between Black Swan is that she's having mental breakdown, but she wants to be number one. She wants to be on top. She's more of her own antagonist, whereas Mima's just kind of a victim.
I see.
Yeah. Also, that scene with the bathtub is actually perfectly recreated in another Darren Aronofsky movie called Requiem for a Dream. He bought Perfect Blue, the remake rights to Perfect Blue, just for that one scene, to have that one scene in Requiem for a Dream. Requiem for a Dream, however, is about drug addicts, so it's a different movie.
Overall, though, I enjoyed it. Like, watching it at the time, I was kind of like, yeah, that was interesting and good. But the more I sat on it, the more I was thinking about it, and the more I enjoyed it, I honestly think. So, if you would have asked me about my thoughts about it immediately after, I probably wouldn't have said very many positive things about it. But now that I've, like I said, been stewing with it, I've liked it a lot more.
I really like the music, too. The music was awesome. Very fitting.
Big fan of 90s.
Big fan of 90s. And also, like, there's a lot of creepy songs. Like, this show is very suspenseful. It's not horror. What's the other word I'm looking for? Maybe it is just that, suspenseful.
Oh, I had the word a second, but I lost it.
What do you got, Thane? Dig deep. You got it.
Suspense, horror, thriller?
Thriller.
It's a psychological thriller.
Psychological
right
thriller.
There. Thank you. Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. So I'm with you, Cole. The more I thought about it, the better it got.
I like this era of anime films and anime in general because they felt like they were trying to actually make movies or something cinematic. And it's like wow, this is like really good cinema in general.
Oh yeah, totally. Like some of the shot composition was like wowzers. Like I mean, we already talked about the bathtub one, but like that's pretty dang crazy. Maybe it was that scene alone where Satoshi Kon's like, I don't know how to put a camera underwater very easily, so let's just animate
the whole thing. Well, Darren Aronofsky figured it out, so
yeah. Overall, though, yeah, good stuff. Good job, Satoshi Kon. I know we didn't say super positive things about Paranoia Agent. We thought it was okay. But if we ever watch another Satoshi Kon thing, I'd like to watch Paprika eventually because that's one I've never seen. But Millennium Actress is a really fun one. I actually really enjoyed that one. It's not depressing. It definitely has like some like thought-provoking stuff in it, but it doesn't like make you sad by any means or uncomfortable. I never felt uncomfortable while watching that movie.
I think this one compared to Paranoia Agent was just more digestible for me because it wasn't a bunch of different things pieced together. It was all kind of just one overarching thing. So instead of having to put 6 pieces together, it's like I can just focus on this and try to figure it out.
It was told in chronological order too, which is nice.
Yeah.
It just was jumping all over the place from different point of views in chronological order.
Right. But like we already said, it comes together at the end.
it makes you feel like a schizophrenic.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's kind of what they're going for too. But yeah, so tell us what you guys think about Perfect Blue in the comments below. How did you interpret some things? What were your opinions / thoughts on it? And also, if you've seen other Satoshi Kon works, what do you like the most out of them all? And I think that pretty much wraps up our show today. Next time, we will be doing our fall 2024 anime review, which I don't know exactly if that'll be next week. It might be still 2 weeks from the release of this episode, but stay tuned. Regardless, we'll be doing that and then the 2024 anime year review almost back to back. So look forward to both of those. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Have a great life, everybody. We'll see y'all later.
Bye.